Greetings, Dapplings, and welcome to a new Let's Play series that I'm super excited to share with you. Today, we're going to be embarking on a captivating journey to the beautiful, though quite often harsh, Scottish Highlands of Clanfolk, which I guess for me isn't that much of a journey as it might be for some of you. This game has undergone numerous updates since I last checked it out over on Twitch about a year ago, I think some of you may recall, and I can't wait to dive back in and explore all of the new features, especially the Hunters and Hunted update, because there are doggos in it. But first, for those who might not be familiar with Clanfolk, let me give you a quick overview. Clanfolk is what I would describe a survival colony manager, which has a very heavy focus on generational progression, so family trees expanding, colonists eventually growing old and dying, their children growing up and inheriting the clan, so on and so forth. But unlike its contemporaries, such as RimWorld or Going Medieval, Clanfolk takes a bit of a different approach. Our primary antagonist in Clanfolk is the environment itself, so while we won't be dealing with enemy raiders or worrying about siege weapons, we will be facing off against exposure and starvation. In Clanfolk, our main focus will be developing the clan and their homestead as a consequence. It is all about the family and how well they can survive just Scotland itself. Whether it's farming, ranching, or crafting, our focus will largely be on gathering resources or trading for them to ensure that by the end of the year, we have what we need for the clan to endure the depths of winter and its coldest nights. And that includes any animals we have. Livestock do not like the cold, much the same as the Clanfolk, only they tend to have, woolly coats, or at the very least feathers, though chickens really don't like the cold. Hopefully this has done enough, though, to whet your appetite, and familiar with the game or not, you're excited to join me for this series. As always, if by the time you get to the end of the video you decide you enjoyed what you saw and you want to see more, you can let St. Algorithmus know with a like or a comment down below. But with that, let's go ahead and jump right into the game. Alright then, as with many games of this ilk, the start is character creation. In this game, it's world creation, and then character creation. We will design our colonists or our clanfolk, if you will, who will be embarking on the world that we set up here. Unlike most games, this is a point-buy system for the world as well. Now, you can gain more points by dropping something or increasing it costs points. But my advice, especially if you're new to the game, there are a couple of things which will have more far-reaching effects, and some things which will be more useful early on. Lakes will be more useful early on because of the fishing, and there'll be more reeds available for you to gather straw, which is a primary building resource. However, peat bogs are, in my opinion, a very, very useful thing to dump points into, because this is going to primarily be your mid to late game iron source. Mountains are fine early on, but once the mountain is gone, the mountain is gone. A peat bog will regenerate its iron, and it's the only source of renewable iron in the game that I'm aware of outside of the occasional trader. So I will dump 2 points into peat bogs, and because having more things to hunt is generally going to be useful for us for winter, I'll put the extra point into wildlife. I'll leave everything else normal. Now, the biggest change since the last time I played is idea points mode. It's still experimental, and it will always be optional. Clanfolk used to have a notion or develop a novel idea for something if they were exposed to a thing enough. It was kind of learn by doing. So after they collected enough branches, they just get the idea of how to build branch storage or how to make walls out of branches. If they built a hoe, and they had a hoe, they would suddenly get the idea of how to use it to dig for clay. If they had a pickaxe, they would suddenly get the idea of how to mine for rocks in a mountain, and up until that point, they wouldn't know how to do it. Now, that system was useful in that it encouraged you to just do one of everything, because it unlocked the progression tree and allowed you to very quickly unlock a lot of stuff. But it was kind of a double-edged sword, because for any new player or anyone unfamiliar with the game or the concept of learn by doing, you could do one thing and suddenly have 50 new things that you could do. It was sometimes a bit overwhelming to know what you should do next because you had so much options. Idea points takes that away and leans more into more of a traditional progression system where you have a resource pool of points that you can explicitly spend to unlock new technologies. Some technologies are still unlocked automatically, but quite a lot of the critical ones you have to explicitly choose to unlock, and it kind of slows down the progression. Now, that does make it a little bit more difficult, especially because idea points are earned by your clanfolk when they do things, but their mood impacts how quickly they earn them. So This puts a little bit more of an emphasis on taking care of your clan above and beyond the survival minimum to allow you to research the things that you might actually need for survival come wintertime. Now, since I haven't played with this before, we're going to turn that on and just see how it goes. But I do like the point that they have mentioned that this will always be an optional choice. So, you know, if you prefer the other way, you can just flick over to that. But with that, let's build the world. Okay, this is our seed. We've got some lakes, we've got some mountains. If you don't like what you've got, you can always change it back up. That's not a problem. The lakes are a little bit far off to the side, but I'm not terribly against that. We've got some decent mountains. We've got one nice big mountain there. Mountains are useful because if you dig lodgings into a mountain, though typically it's going to take us a while to get to pickaxes to be able to do that, mountains keep things colder than just a built structure outside of a mountain, so they're very useful for larders. We've got some very healthy peat bogs around, so I imagine we'll probably be building around the middle here. We can see some heather patches, some thistle, some oats. We've got quite a lot of reeds around the lakes, and many independent lakes, and I particularly like that because each one will track its fish population independently, so we could just end up with lots of little eel traps, for example, without ending up overfishing a single population. Now, you can build a clan. We're just going to take this map as it is, and there are lots more clans to choose from now. Each clan has its own tartan and its own motto. Some of you may even recognize your own clan in here. I'm not going to go through all of them, and we're going to stick with home because none of these clans are my clan, and it feels a little bit wrong for me to take someone else's. We'll go with home, true to the end, but it is quite nice how you see all of the different different mottos. In fact, there's one. Let's go and see. Where are you? Here we are. Macintosh. Touch not this cat without a glove. If that is an amazing family motto, I just don't know what is, frankly. But here we go. We're going to be going with home. Now, you've got a couple of standard starts. This is the recommended one, and you can just have a look at what they would be. So this one would start you with 2 elders, 2 seniors, basically, 2 adults, and their children, one of whom is an elder juvenile and another is just become a juvenile over a baby. There are distinct life stages, and each life stage comes with its own requirements. Babies in this game are an enormous resource drain. This is not a game where you just want to have lots of kids and it's fine, kids can more or less do things. They start as babies, and as babies, they're pretty much just spare organs, really. They eat and they poop. That's pretty much all they do. Also, they get into mischief. They try to climb into fires or the poop hole. And the problem is that one of your adults is now pretty much full-time taking care of the baby instead of doing all the other things that were helping the clan to survive. But eventually the babies turn into juveniles, they can start helping, eventually turn into adults, and they can expand the clan. So, you know, there's obviously a reason to be having children, but it is a resource drain. In a small clan, it can be an incredible resource drain. That adult who's no longer a full-time member of the workforce, that is bad times. But we're going to be going with a custom. There are lots of ones. There's a shepherd, orphans, hermit. Her only company is a clouder of cats and a spirit of adventure. That one actually does sound very cool. But we're going to go ahead and start a custom clan because I want to show the interesting way of setting the clans up. Now, your progenitors, you don't know who they are, but it is the same mother and father. So anyone you add, baby boy or girl, they will be siblings. You add them in, and then you progress time, and this will age them up. You can't age beyond senior because that's death, but you age them by once, and it goes from baby to juvenile. And at this point, we're going to add in a sister. So she starts as a baby. We've got juvenile there, juvenile here. There we go. She's halfway through juvenile, and Rory is now an adult. At adult age, you can add a partner. This costs an additional 250. All of them cost 250 to add, but the partner will come in as a wife. She's married into the family. As such, she doesn't have the family tartan. Now, it will give you a survival chance up in the top left, which I find quite useful. Also, you get a little bit of information. You can re-roll anyone. So Barbara over here is afraid of the dark, but is tireless, so gets tired more slowly. Lilius is gloomy, and you know what? These names just won't do. Give me a sec. There we are. Bentham, Kyra, and Amira, thank you all for volunteering your names over on the Dapperdell Discord. Your sacrifice will be honoured and remembered in the histories of the clan. Bentham over here, just randomly, there are jobs that they like, jobs that they're good at, and jobs that they dislike. Neither Kyra or Bentham like doing doctoring or baby care. Amira had a rough childhood, let's just say. Amira does not like harvesting. She is quite fond of gathering. Kyra is quite fond of planting, so farming in general. And Bentham is quite fond of crafting. But Bentham is very good at cleaning, whether that's true in real life or not, he'll have to let us know. Kyra is very good at hauling, and Amira is quite good with clothes. She's a bit of a seamstress. Now, outside of that, our survival chance is still okay. We can re-roll if we want to, and having two adults who don't like cleaning is care is a bit of a problem for me, so we are going to re-roll Bentham. But you'll notice that every time you re-roll, the cost increases. Now we like doing clothes. We're good at gathering. That's actually a good one to have. We don't like cooking. You know what? We'll accept that. Also, it has changed the name, really. Okay, let me quickly pop that back in. There we go. So that'll do for us, I think. Now, over on the side, we can choose a couple of things to bring with us. Now, the first thing you should bring is some food. I'm going to say each one of these is 20 dried mushrooms. A person is going to need somewhere like 10, 15 items of food a day or somewhere around there. I've not really looked into the exacts of it, so if someone happens to know the exact numbers involved, then please do let me know. Each food type has a differing calorie count, so that does factor into it, but we'll take enough for 3 people. Let's say, yeah, sure. We'll have 2 days worth of dried mushrooms for each person. And just so that they don't have that as their only thing, we're going to get some smoked meat. Now, the problem with this is food will spoil. So the dried mushrooms, I would say, is your focus because they will last for an enormous amount of time as long as they don't get wet. Anything else will more or less rot based on the temperature. So dried mushrooms are great for long term, and everything else is good in the short term. We are also going to be bringing along a deerhound. There we go. We're also going to be bringing along a cat. We'll have a female cat, a male deerhound, and then finally we can choose some other animals. And because it's me, and just let's get the jokes out of the way, we're going to bring along a breeding pair of sheep. Shush. All right, it's solid advice. Oh, that sheep's actually, that ram's got a nice brown coat. I like it. But there we go. They will more or less take care of themselves early on. This has brought our survival chances up to 35%. Let me just add one thing in, though. Survival chance has gone down. Like I said, children are dangerous. However, we don't really want a baby, so we'll take you back off for now. But again, when you've got a limited amount of adults, children can genuinely spell doom. Now, not bringing along a child does mean that it's going to be a while before we have a chance to have children, because the settings have to be very, very good. The parents have to be in a really good mood and in a very stable environment to want to have children. Time will march forward, so eventually Amira will become an adult and may decide to take a husband, and hopefully by then we will have a setting that will be conductive to a bit of romancing. But with that all said and done, it's finally time for us to go ahead and join our clanfolk on the map. And there we go, straight away. No, wait, that's fantastic. Alright, so got a bunch of warnings over to the side. The game is currently paused, and there is one thing that I would like to do further. Male dog. No. We're not going to have a pet that's just called male dog. There we go. We have got Orestes the deerhound and Persephone the cat. We've also got Ravian the ram and Pokedragon the ewe. Now, I'm hoping that by naming our livestock, it'll make it a little bit more clear who's who on the trading screen, and specifically who we're not trading away, who we do want to trade away, so on and so forth. But I'm sure that for most of you, the big red icons on the side there are the real concern. Also, we have unlocked branches and stones for gathering. These are 2 automatic unlocks. Now, speaking about unlocks, we'll spend a few more moments. I know it's already been a little while since the recording started, but there's a lot of stuff to do in the very early setup of a survival colony manager like this, and my reasoning is a little bit of time spent in the beginning is going to impact a lot of time throughout the whole playthrough, so it's better to get things done right at the beginning rather than the rushing and then suddenly hitting a wall. Now, the way that things unlock in here, we've got, these are important unlocks marked by the little plus there. New unlocks, we don't have any new unlocks right now, and the amount of idea points we have. Anything with a little like thought bubble and a number above it costs that many idea points to unlock, but they still have prerequisites. For example, to make a wattle wall, we still need to have 400 branches. However, because these only have a lock symbol and no thought bubble, these will automatically unlock once their prerequisites are complete. So, for example, once we've gathered any berries, we'll have the food stockpile. Once we've gathered any stone, we'll get the ingredient stockpile. And once we've gathered 250 branches, we'll automatically unlock the branch pile. We don't need to spend on that. And there's a lot of things that will come automatically to us once we've got certain prerequisites. Now, my knowledge of the game means that I happen to know that we are going to kind of want to burn towards animal beds, because until we do that, we have no real way of dictating where our sheep go come nightfall, and there are hungry wolves out there. This is the Scottish Highlands circa 1300, so a sheep that has wandered far off from the clan is not necessarily protected by the deerhound. Deerhounds will demolish wolves, by the way, which is why you should always bring at least one with you when you go and set out. But hungry enough family of wolves will take down your pet and your livestock, so do be aware you kind of want to build them a shelter as soon as you can. And on the topic of shelters, we also want to build us a shelter as soon as we can. Now, the walls that we can see early on are the wattle wall for 400 branches. That is, we have to have gathered that many before we can unlock it. We've also got the hay wall down here, which just needs 200 straw, which is a lot easier to get to, I will say, and the hay roof. Once we've got that and a door, which again, hay and branches will give us the straw door, then we are set. But again, we've got a couple of things that we need to do. Now we get into the actual proper playing. I know, it's taken a while. Once again, a little bit of time early on dictates how well your time is going to be spent later on, so hopefully that will have been worth it. Now, we've got a couple of things we need to do. A wash zone, jump in the lake to clean up. The drink zone, have a drink from a lake, may cause intestinal unrest. This is dramatically increased in likelihood if it happens to be near where you're washing, possibly even in the same lake. So, can we do this? Oh, we can. Right, we're going to put a wash zone down there, and I'm going to put a drink zone over here. Now, well, actually, that is a bit far away, if I'm perfectly honest. And realistically, we want to be set up there more. So, let's risk it for a biscuit, shall we? I know our peeps aren't going to be the best happy about this, but we're going to set a wash zone. We'll try and put it a little bit further away. We'll set up a temporary camp just around here, but eventually want to migrate a bit further north. Additionally, we want sleep zones, so let's just plonk those down. We're going to want one for each of our peeps, and furthermore, under hunting, we'll have pet zones. Now, this will only affect our dog and our cat for the time being, but that will do. Now, as I mentioned, a lot of things are going to come down to branches, so my recommendation is to get out there and start gathering branches as a massive priority. It doesn't really matter if you've got anywhere to put them, not a concern. Also, at least gather a little bit of food from berry bushes, if for no other reason than preserving your longer lasting food from being eaten just because they're hungry. If they can eat berries, which will have an incredibly short shelf life, that will be much better for us. Now, we've unlocked the food stockpile, so let's go ahead and pop a little food stockpile up here. We're also going to want to gather some stones as well, and we may as well gather stones from the place that we're going to be making our living quarters for the time being, so let's just get that done. Now, whilst our clan folk are off doing that, this gives us an opportunity to check out some things. First and foremost, you can see your entire inventory just by opening up the inventory down there. There are a number of gathering jobs. These will increase over time. You can, and I recommend, activating harvest only. And only turn this off in case you are in a difficult position and actually need to harvest something sooner than it's really ready. I would prefer to look for a berry bush. In fact, I kind of forgot to do that here. But I would prefer to look for a berry bush where I'm going to get the maximum yield of berries out of it, and possibly have to wait to find that berry bush, rather than just take a massively diminished yield because I was a bit impatient. Furthermore, we've got a corpse stockpile. Now that may be because one of our cats just went out and hunted a rabbit or a rat. There are now rats. Corpses, not the nicest thing for your clan folk to have to look at, so let's go ahead and just set up a little corpse pile over here. Until we've unlocked butchering, we can't do anything with it anyway. Now over here we've got the task list. Now it says these are the possible tasks. There are 64 gathering tasks and 6 hauling tasks. Now this is the approximate order. It's a very, very much an approximation of the priority. Now this is combined between the actual priority of the job, so if we click here, we can set the priority lower or higher, but you can also click on the priority and it makes it top priority. This is now going to be the next gathering job done. I'd be extremely cautious of using this. It's fine to use, but keep it for its intended purpose, in my opinion, and that is something you need to be done right now. Don't use it for everything. It's kind of like oxygen not included. If everything is priority 9, then nothing is priority 9. Now, we have unlocked the ingredient stockpile, and we've unlocked the work zone, a place to make basic tools. We absolutely need this because that's how we get to the sickle. So we're going to spend a point on unlocking that, and we are probably going to build it. Just over here will do. We don't really need to spread things out too much, but for the sake of keeping things nice and tidy over here, I will try to do that where I can. We're also going to pop in a larger area down here. That's a little bit larger than I meant for. There we go, that'll do. This is for general ingredients, and again, you can play around with the priorities, but I don't really think you need to worry about that over much for the time being. Now, speaking about priorities, the priority is a combination of the job priority, which you set here, and whether someone wants to do that job or not. Now, there are 2 priority modes. Currently, we've got strict priorities off. Tasks are picked based on the combined skill priority and task priority. It gives you a less clear idea of when something is going to be prioritized, but it will tend to have, will allow your workers to do what they're best at, and the better they are at something, the faster they do it. So overall, I feel that this leads to a more efficient use of a colonist's time. And also, when it comes to things they enjoy and things they really don't enjoy, it also makes sure that you try to avoid having someone who's going to hate doing the job and will probably be bad at it, doing the job over someone who would have enjoyed doing it and may well have been much, much faster at getting it done. But you can turn strict priorities on. When you do this, tasks are picked based on the skill priority first and then the task priority within that skill type. It's easier to understand but requires changing skill priorities or having low task count to work well. I tend to give them lots of jobs and just wait for them to get to them when they decide to get to them. But while we're on this screen, let's go ahead and set up some things. The first thing I like to do is, unless there's a really good reason not to, they don't like doing a critical task and they're the only person in the colony, I will tend to have the job people least like at the very bottom of the queue. And I will try to have the jobs that they tend to like doing somewhere up near the top or the middle. I like to have care as a top priority where I can. In this case, we're not going to do that for Kyra, just because it makes sense. This will also be used for your animals when they need care, but, even when it's just your babies. You don't want your baby just sat out in the middle of the snow, mewling helplessly because all of your adults are busy gathering branches instead of taking them inside and putting them to bed. Right, the next thing we're going to want, I'm going to say the gathering for you is going to be your top priority, Amira. We're not really going to have much in terms of planting for now, so instead I'm going to say let's go ahead and pop hauling up. Yeah, let's have you do hauling as a top priority job. You're very, very good at it after all. Amira can have their clothing which they're very good at. They've got a kid brain because they're still young, and they've got an aptitude for it. So they're actually very good at learning this. So getting them to do a fair bit of it early on may make them really set them out for their adult life. But I also want gathering to be done fairly high priority there, and then crafting soon after it. I think that's a decent setup, but I want gathering generally to be a fairly high priority. So I'll pop that up there as well and move clothing up just because it's something you enjoy doing. Planting, that's going to be a fair ways off for us for now. Now, one thing I am aware, and you can click on any of the buttons on the side to just see where things are. We don't have building at a very high priority for anyone. That is a problem. Cooking is also not a very high priority for anyone. So let's just juggle this around a little bit. I would like the better cook to be doing it. They can cook and then they can hunt. I kind of like that idea, though there's an argument as to why you might not want to do it that way around. I'd also like repair to be fairly high for at least one person, because then if a bed gets worn, they'll go and repair it instead of just ignoring it. This will have more far-reaching effects once we've got a lot of actual furniture rather than just spots on the ground that they sleep on. But this should be a good enough setup for them to get most of the jobs done that they need to do. Now, you can see every now and then when someone does a job, a little thought bubble above their head with a number. That's the idea points that they were gathering. And you can see down here how many points we need to get, well, I guess like idea experience points. You could think of it like that. How many experience points we need before we generate the next actual idea point that we can spend. It's unfortunately, there aren't good differences between the words to make it really distinct, but hopefully that is clear enough. Now, our animals are mostly going to do their own thing. Our cat has probably already gone out and hunted a couple of things. Now, one thing I do wish they had is, at least in terms of the pets, which I feel are kind of set apart from livestock, I wish the pets also showed up, or you had a button to bring up your pets specifically, because currently we don't have that. So you just have to look around and click on them to find out what they're up to, or how healthy they are, so on and so forth. The cat will just go off and do its own thing. Persephone does not care where Persephone's human is, but Persephone does have a human. However, Orestes will basically follow their human around like a puppy, even into old age, as all good boys should. Well done, Orestes. Where is our cat, though? That is actually going to worry me a little bit. They could be off tangling with foxes and wolves if we're not too careful, though they're generally smart enough not to get into trouble. But they will probably be off looking for rabbits or rats to hunt. We probably don't have rats yet, but we will as we gather more and more materials and places for rats to link it. Here we've got a little little warren of rabbits over there. That's quite far away, so I doubt we're going to be going over there to snare. Now, how many resources have we got? So let's have a look. We've got 289 branches. We need a fair few more, but we have unlocked a couple more things. We've got the branch pile, which I would like to actually build if we can. Let's go ahead and build 2 of them, in fact. These, well, actually, we'll make one. I'm still in my head with the last playthrough that we had, which was significantly further developed, and you tended to want massive branch storage because you were always gathering them. Right now, having 2 of them is massive overkill, and it's going to require branches in order to build. So let's be a little bit more frugal with our resource spending. We still need to get up to a total of 400 before I can unlock the thing that I really want. We can already get the wattle fence, though. Not a high priority for the time being. But let's set up a couple more gathering jobs, and hopefully then our peeps can go there. And you'll notice now that it's not flagging every single tree that I hover over, because I am going for 100% harvest only now. So that is going to help out a little bit. There we are. Alright, so it's time now for us to pass a bit of time, so I'm going to speed things up. Hopefully our peeps are going to be able to get enough food. There's 50 berries there, that should be enough. My recommendation with 3 people, don't go for more than 40 berries a day. Because the thing is, while they're on the berry bushes, they are not rotting. The berry bush itself is sustaining them. They are not decaying in any way, shape, or form, but the moment that you pluck them, then the timer has started. And if we have a look in here, can I actually see it? There we are. The quality is going down by 2 per second, and it's also too warm, so it's going down by a further 5 per second. So the total drop in quality from 25,000, which is quite a high number, is -7 a second. Now, that doesn't seem like much, but when you've got stacks and stacks and stacks of them, that kind of decay means an entire stack will rot before you even get close to it, and that's a sad way for things to go. So my recommendation is every morning just get out there, harvest a couple of berries from a couple of bushes, and once you've got any kind of automated gathering or hunting going on, allow them to work on that. The mushrooms, pretty much not going down at all. It's not raining, so there's no reason to. The smoked meat is not going to suffer from heat, so it's going down very, very slowly. So the smoked meat will last us a good long time as well. Now, how are we doing with the branches? We have actually gotten to the point that I do believe we can get wattle walls. There we go. Fantastic. All right, now we really need the work zone done. And in fact, we need some building done as well. So I'm going to bump building up a little bit more for a certain somebody. Cooking, I'm actually going to move that up a little bit. And building... See, the problem with gathering is going to be done before building, and there's so many gathering jobs. So I'm going to bump that up a little bit just so that we can get a couple of these things down. But now that we actually have the ability to build walls, let's go ahead and set up something for our clanfolk. Now, the area that we're going to want, I guess we could just build onto the side here, or up here even, offers us a little bit of a better area. So if we were to do something like this, then we can start thinking about getting a little space. Now, one thing you need to be aware of is roof span. How far from the nearest wall? That is something that's going to impact this. 3, I think, is fine for the first roof that we're going to get, which is the hay roof. It's not a very heavy material, so it can hold a lot of... it can span a decent distance away from the nearest wall, but heavy roofing materials like stone, they have a far shorter span, like only 2 tiles from the nearest wall. So you do need to be aware of that, because it can cause cave-ins or just areas where you can't build and you have to put in pillars and the like. So this is where we're going to be trying to set things up. Now, it's going to take some time. We can't get rid of that berry bush there until we've got an axe. But now that we've got the the work zone over here, we can start building things. Though, that being said, I would now that we've actually got a space kind of ironed out for where we're going to be setting up, let's go ahead and move things over. It's coming over to the end of the day. As you can see, the lighting is changing, and the day-night cycle is reasonable. There's a reasonable amount of time in it. Each day lasts a lot longer than you might be familiar in other games of this ilk. But there are about 10 days per season. Currently, we are on the 1st of summer. And because we start in summer, I would not stress going for a farm early on. Probably the first year, just focus on hunter-gathering, because trying to get a farm up and running, you're going to have to go to a lot of efforts to get the tools necessary and the space necessary to set that up properly. And you probably won't have many seeds either, unless you really, really focus your gathering. So put a line through that one, bump that down to the second year, and you're going to have a much better start. Generally speaking, pick something and focus on it in the first year is my advice. Otherwise, you can suffer from trying to do too many things at once and getting none of them complete. And much like Dwarf Fortress, if you start too many mega projects at the same time, then you never actually complete any of them, because your dwarves get too angry because you forgot the simple things like, making beer, and they all beat each other to death in the Great Hall, even if you managed to get to the point of having a Great Hall, which you probably didn't if you've already started mega projects, you fool. Okay, nighttime is almost upon us now. The sheep are just going to continue wandering. For the most part, they're completely self-sufficient. They will get their own food. The only thing they won't have is care, because they don't have a bed. But their base changes 2 per second. That means, without any external element making them get unhealthy, they will just naturally recover their health by 2 per second. And if they are well fed, then that's an additional 2. So overall, it means that they can survive happily enough without a bed. But getting a bed means that they'll also be able to survive maladies and the likes, which will negatively impact their care rating. Bentham and Kyra are just having a bit of a chat down by the wash point, and Amira's already headed to bed. We managed to get a little bit moved around, but we still need to shift a couple of things. Amira didn't have any food before bed, but both Bentham and Kyra did. Their food is full, and we have 21 berries left over. So probably 40 berries would be enough per day for this small family, and we'll try to aim towards that in the future. We still need to build a stone circle. You decided to go to bed there. Oh, well, I guess it doesn't really matter where you go to bed, honestly. We'll get rid of that. Where's Persephone, though? Where is our cat? There you. Where have you been, Persephone? You've not had enough food recently, apparently. Fair enough. You're relatively okay though. You've got well fed. Your instinct. Now this is an interesting one. Cats have a killer instinct. This is how satisfied an animal's killer instinct is. The bar drings as animals encounter nearby prey. So it doesn't dring specifically with time. I mean, it does. It drings a little bit. Base change naturally goes down. Eventually, this cat, even if it is completely, all of its needs are cared for, like it eats out of a pet bowl or whatever, it's eventually going to want to just go and kill its own food. But if it spends a lot of time around prey animals like chickens, or there are just lots of rats around, this drains very, very quickly. So your cat, it's just got a hunter's nature. It wants to go out there and munch on little fuzzy things or feathery things, whatever the case may be. And you can't really get away from that. So do bear that in mind if you're forcing your cat to live around a lot of prey animals. It's going to have a very strong hunter instinct. Now that could be good and it could be bad. If you are constantly kind of stimulating its hunter instinct, it can. Like, a very small number of cats can completely depopulate your map of rabbits if you let it. So maybe don't tease the cat with things that it wants to eat, but it's not allowed to, because it won't kill your chickens. But I'm fairly certain it wants to the whole time. So, a word to the wise there. Don't tease your tiny little apex predator. It has dreams of being a lion. And if you let it, it will live those dreams. Okay, morning is here, and our peeps have woken up and are heading up. Now, there's a bunch of things that they will tend to do early in the morning. They will tend to go and have a bit of food. They will tend to go and wash themselves, get a drink, so on and so forth. And once you've got the means for it, they will tend to go and have a poop. So bear that in mind where you place things. There are certain times that your peeps are going to want to do certain jobs over others. And after just waking up is one of those times. Now, let's make sure that we're getting rid of all of these stones where we can. I want to move as much up there as we're able to, as quickly as... This is already full. Wow, okay. I'm quite impressed with that, actually. We're going to relocate that over here, and now that we've done that, I'm going to just get rid of this and you, and get rid of all of these as we can, just to move them around. I'm wary of playing this game on 4x speed all the time, but it is very tempting. The problem with any kind of speed selector over here, I can't remember who coined this phrase, is the top speed becomes the default speed and everything else is slower. I definitely feel that sometimes. Right, now we want a sickle. Now there are a couple of ways you can do this. You can just make one, but tools do wear down over time. So what I tend to do with any important tools, I will say auto supply. Always keep a supply of one. And in a big colony, make it 2, make it 3. However many people you want to be able to do that job at a time. Once the tool is there, if you've made like 100 places to do the job, if you've only got one tool, you're saying only one person can ever be doing this. It's just they've got a long list of things to do, and sometimes that's a good way of managing how many people are spending their time doing a particular job. You'll notice that paths do actually start to lay down as well. In fact, you can turn this on and you can get a much better idea of where they're walking. Now, I would say that this is still the closer water source over this one, but eventually that one is going to change. You can also see the environment generally outside is lovely. Places where there's just gunk all over the place is not. Manure is especially not. You can see the temperature overlay. This isn't really useful until winter comes around. Fertilizer overlay, though, is sometimes quite useful, especially when you start having lots of rotten food or manure, or, in fact, wildfires. I say wildfires. Sometimes it makes sense to set fire to a bit of brush to fertilize the ground prior to farming on it. Water overlay. There's the growth overlay. This is going to be more useful once we've got farming up and running, and for now, we'll just focus on this. So, there we go. Kyra is moving some stones up there. There we are. Perfect, Kyra. What skill do you have building on? Crafting was way down here, so you're not the person I was expecting to do that task. But again, sometimes certain tasks are a higher priority. In fact, I kind of want this place to be a higher priority. I would also very much like it that once they've made something, to haul it where it's best to go, if such a place exists. Now, we've unlocked straw, harvest reeds on the shoreline, or process grasses in a thresher. Now, with that, let's go ahead and have a look. That's an important one. We've got the clear grass option. Now, clear reeds for straw, grasses for the thresher. We've got straw, oat sheaf, heather, hay, thistle, flax stems, and flax sheaf. And we want a thresher, which means we need to get some straw. So let's go and get some reeds. Also, to be able to plant reeds, we'll need to get 250. But more than anything else, we want to get a serving basket. Now, the serving basket, unfortunately, requires a lot of mushrooms and a lot of berries, more than we really want to gather in one time. But it's going to be an important thing for us to gather. So let's go ahead and see if we can't get some mushrooms. It seems we can. Let's, I forget how many it was we needed. Probably not too many on the mushrooms front. If we have a look in here, how many mushrooms? Gather branches, mushroom, doesn't, extract mushrooms, 6 of 6. I'm not really sure how much that's going to yield, but we're going to grab a bunch of berries as well to hopefully get enough. I'll probably go for a little bit more mushrooms. Mushrooms tend to grow better in the autumn and around tree stumps, but they will grow around just regular trees as well. But with that done, now that we've got a sickle, we definitely want to go and cut some grasses, and let's go ahead and gather some of the reeds around here. We need a decent amount of straw because, again, we're going to be using straw for our roofing once we can. Okay, we've just unlocked the idea for the thresher. Now, this is one we need to buy, but it is a critical one, and it does mark critical ideas. Specifically, gives us an announcement for it. It's only 1 skill point, but it requires straw and branches. This will allow us to thresh sheafs into seeds, for example, hay or oat sheaf into its seeds and the straw and so on and so forth. Very, very important because we're going to need that to be able to get to straw doors and hay roof, which only need the threshers and a little bit of straw to have. And then we will finally be getting to a point where we're almost ready. Ready to seal off this area. Now, you can, in many cases, rotate buildings, so let's go ahead and do that there. We'll get rid of this one, and I'm going to build the thresher down about here. But let's rotate it to make sure that people can actually access the spot there properly. We've got over the amount of... Well, actually, no. We don't quite have enough berries, and we're getting close to the amount of mushrooms. Should be, when Amira brings these back, that we will have enough, but we still need about another 44 berries to be able to unlock the food basket. Keeping your food up off the floor, obviously a very, very good idea in general. Now, once we've got thresher, we can go in here and, as mentioned, we can use flax stems and straw. At this point, we can now set up our own eel trap, which is very important because that will give us access to the cooking fire. So let's go ahead and buy that one. But first, let's set up everything we want over here. So flax stems, honestly, this is just converting flax sheafs that we've got into flax stems. Now, there is a reason to do this. There's a lot of people that I've seen it on Reddit being a bit confused at how, or rather why, it talks about straw with regards to flax. The keyword here is broken down into straw. You take a flax sheaf, you turn it into flax stems, you will automatically get flax seeds out of that. And then you can use the stems later on to process further into linen, or you can simply click on it. I'll demonstrate with something over here, and click the break down button on that group. There's no automatic way of doing it, but if you do have a lot of flax stems just lying around going wanting, then you can go ahead and set that up to be broken down, and you end up with quite a lot more straw out of that than you might otherwise imagine. Now, let's have a look at our ideas. We need 200 straw for that, so let's go ahead and make sure that we're always going for at least 200, and that should help out. Now, we're 5 berries off from getting the serving basket, and once we've got that, I'm going to be a lot happier about how our food is stored. But for the time being, we want to go to hunting, and we want to create an eel trap. Now, that looks like I clicked off that. There we go. An eel trap can go pretty much anywhere, but it has to be along the shoreline. It will automatically orient. Just pop one down. This fishing area here has got 58 of 58%. It's not a very large fishing spot, so it's not a great one. If we look over there, it's 49. This one's 100 of 100. This one is probably 100, yeah. I don't mind having a smaller fishing area, but it does mean that the fish are going to repopulate a bit more slowly. With that in mind, actually, let's go ahead and place this over here at the larger one. Why not, since it's available to us? We'll just pop it around right about there. It does mean there's going to be a little bit more of a walk to get over there, but it will be worth our while. Now, once we've got dirt paths, I strongly recommend setting up dirt paths pretty much to anywhere that you're regularly going to go, whether it's far away or not. Dirt paths themselves don't seem to offer much of a speed bonus, but when you factor in the fact that all natural tiles have a speed malus, dirt paths become much more attractive. Okay, we've managed to get the requisite amount of straw, so it's time to unlock the straw door and the hay roof. Probably not in time for us to be able to seal off this area, and we still can't seal that off until we've got an axe, but we can start making a go of it. So let's go ahead and build a straw door, one there, one here. I am then going to want straw, or rather hay roof, and we'll build this along everything. Now, if we just check that, the roof span is 3, so this should work without any roof cave-ins. Collapsing roofs, unlike many games with that mechanic like Dwarf Fortress, do not actually have any impact. You can totally undermine a mountain and just allow the whole mountaintop to collapse down. It will not harm anyone, and it will not produce any kind of impact event or anything like that, so you're generally quite safe. We've brought all the straw up now. We just need a couple of branches and a little bit of time. We should be good. Ah, Persephone bringing back a kill. Well done. Let's have a look at you. Yeah, you're very satisfied now. You've managed to slay a scallywag, and you're bringing it back to Kyra because she is your human, and you're very proud. And also, she's very bad at hunting, so you must provide food. And then you know what? She's a big human. You're gonna have to go and get some more food. These stupid humans don't know how to take care of themselves. Where would they be without you, my lord? Well done, Persephone. And day 3 begins in earnest. One of the nice things about the speed function, by the way, is much like The Sims. The speed function will speed up to a hidden speed level. The maximum you can usually put it to is ×4, but at night it goes to ×12 if everyone is asleep. So it does pay for everyone to be asleep. I don't actually think you can do anything to change that, actually, because there's no schedule like you would have with Oxygen Not Included or with RimWorld. You can't tell people when to sleep. Everyone down here just having a little bit of a socializing. In fact, that does matter. So, for example, listening, they're kind of bored, really. Musketeers, 1.5 idea point rewards. Is it possibly because there's just 3 people? 3 musketeers or something? And you're a little bit lonely. I need someone to talk to. Well, then get involved. Have a chat. There we go. You're chatting away. Hopefully that will change things. But you're a generally gloomy person, Kyra. Dark clouds follow this one. So fun is always -1, which is a bit of a shame. We do need to get some more entertainment. That will come in time once we build our clanfolk some instruments to play of a morning or an evening, and then that should hopefully keep them going. Now, in terms of our inventory, we are still a very far way away from having enough berries for what we need. So we're going to need to get a load of gathering on the go, and I've set up a couple more berries for them to do that. Oh, there we go. That being said, oh, okay, maybe it was just a total amount of berries ever gathered. Well, in that case, we absolutely do not want to gather any more, so cancel these jobs. There we go. Thank you very much, berries. You've done a marvelous job there. And we can go into storage and we can build a serving basket. Fantastic. Let's get that down right now. If we can, I would like that to even be a higher priority. We are going to want some windows before we get too far along. There we go, some windows there. Let's get one of those. Now, the reason why we want windows is because our peeps are going to be very unhappy if their domicile is completely dark. From what I can tell, you only actually need 1 window to give full light, but I like to have more than that. It just makes more sense to me in a way. But having the windows there means that whenever this place becomes completely enclosed, and if there is no fire lit inside, there will still be light coming from outside. Even at night, there'll be a little bit of light there as well. We've got a dump, which means something has probably rotted somewhere. Maybe a corpse. Alright, so we're probably not going to go out and hunt for a little while now. We can eat mushrooms, I think, as they are, but they will get old, much like most food will get old, except for things like dried mushrooms and the likes. Let's have a look. The meat does not go in this. The serving basket is purely for vegetables. Well, at the very least, it's not for meat, because you can store things like bread and dough there as well. But let's set up a little dump stockpile as well. We'll pop that down here. This will be for things like rotted food, flax, so on and so forth. That can all go down there. Right, we have now built the eel trap. Now, the way the eel trap works is a little bit different to other things. You can, if you want, set an auto supply. However, I would strongly recommend against this, because the problem with that is if your people have got nothing else to do, if you set, for example, in fact, I'm going to pause it to explain this. If we set up auto supply of, let's say, 5 raw eels, always have 5 raw eels in inventory, and then we cook the raw eels very soon after we gather them. Well, we no longer have 5 raw eels, so they'll go back and they'll start to gather more eels. Now, that isn't necessarily awful in a very large pond, because it does take 200 seconds for the eels to be caught. It's kind of they set the trap and then they go away, and then after 200 ticks they come back and they gather the 5 raw eels. But by doing it that way, you can end up producing massive amounts of eels and massively depopulating a fish pond. And the larger the fish pond, the faster it will repopulate, but also the less fish there, the slower it will repopulate. Because it's harder to get back to 100% from 1% than it is from like 70%, for example. So instead of having an auto supply, what I would recommend is to set up a catch job and then tell them wait until tomorrow. Now, what will happen here is they will catch the eels, and then that's it. They'll catch 5 eels, and then wait until tomorrow will trigger, and so they won't do anything else until tomorrow. Now, to get this to work properly, set up repeat the build queue, because after they catch these eels, this job will be added to the end of the build queue, but then they'll hit wait until tomorrow, and so they'll wait until tomorrow, and then this will get put to the back of the build queue, and so you will end up with this exact setup once again. I very, very firmly recommend doing it that way to prevent overfishing. You can adjust it as necessary based on the amount of ponds that you have, but that should be more than enough for us. Now, that does pose a question. We now have the ability to unlock the cooking fire, so let's go ahead and get that done. The cooking fire provides light, warmth, and basic cooking. This does unlock a lot more stuff. It's very, very important. Now, there are a couple of things to remember about this. First and foremost, it takes stones, branches, blah, blah, blah. It generates heat output of 10C for 108 tiles. Now, what that means is if it's in an enclosed space, or a space that's got vents to other rooms, but generally speaking, it can heat 108 separate tiles by 10 degrees. Now, in the summer, that means it'll be very hot. It'll get probably a little bit too hot. In winter, it's based on the ambient temperature outside that area. So, yes, it'll provide 10 degrees, but it won't mean that the internal space will be 10 degrees warm, because if it outside is minus 30, then it'll just be minus 20 inside, and so on and so forth. So that is a very important thing to note. The other one you want to pay attention to is the rain will stop it. Go figure, it's a fire. And it throws sparks. That is very, very important to pay attention to. Now, there are a couple of tricks with the way that works. In Clanfolk, sparks cannot affect the roof. However, something on fire can. So, in this example, if sparks were thrown by our fireplace, but there was nothing around it to catch fire, doesn't matter. Even if the roof is made of hay, the sparks will never jump upwards. They only jump sideways. But if, let's say, the thresher was over there, this has high flammability, so there's a very good chance if a spark lands on it, it's going to go up in flames. Well, this is an object that's on fire, and an object that's on fire connects to the roof in a sense, so the roof is now on fire, and suddenly everything is on fire. So, there is a way to avoid that, and hopefully we'll be able to get to that relatively soon. You notice the red ring? That is the area where it can kick up sparks. So we're going to tuck it into this corner made of rock, because rock is, as you might imagine, not very flammable. It has a flammability of 0%. So realistically, the only 2 tiles that are ever going to get sparks on them is this tile and this tile. This tile can't ever have anything else there because it's the work zone for this building, so nothing will typically be dropped there. But we will have to wait for a little while for that to be built before I can show you the next step, the way to absolutely make sure that nothing bad happens there. We actually don't have any jobs to do. That is an interesting one. What do we need there? We need branches, and do we have branches? We do. Well, why are you just chilling out? I'm kind of surprised. You're desperate for a poop. Very unhappy about this scenario. Exceedingly sad, in fact, is another way of putting it. Now, we've unlocked the tile blocker, the flammable blocker rather. This is basically a stockpile. You've got two. You've got the blocker, which if you place it down on the ground, nothing will ever be dropped there. Or the flammable blocker, which says nothing that can catch on fire should ever be put there. So by setting up that zone there, again, since someone will have to stand here to use the fire, it can never be blocked. This tile, which was a viable place to drop things before, can now no longer contain anything that can catch fire. And from this point, I'm going to set up auto supply, make sure that we've got, if there are at least 50 eels available, cook all 50 of them. There we go. That being said, actually, imagining that... I'm not sure how the perish timers work with cooked food versus the food that was made to make them. It may completely reset the timer, so instead I'll set that to 10, and we'll just see how that goes. So let's get rid of that as well. There we go. That's all set. This is a low priority, but I'd actually like it to be a reasonably high priority. We're going to set that up to a 7. Let's keep that going. I currently don't have any kind of system for the priorities. I'm just kind of winging it. But later on, I'll have a sit down and I'll think of what I want to do. Those of you who've seen me playing Oxygen Not Included, I tend to have a system for things like something that is critical to life support will be a very high priority. Things that are useful, like make life comfortable to live but aren't strictly necessary for survival, or a little bit lower priority, then so on and so forth as it goes down the queue. We'll probably set up something along those lines. There we go. That's all nice and set, and we're already getting some eels made. Marvelous. Now we do need to get ourselves a stone hoe, and much like the stone sickle, I would like one of those always kept available. Getting more roofing done as well, and everything is going rather lovely so far. We need more straw though. And Kyra has finished making the stone hoe, which now has unlocked gathering clay, making twine, lots of other things, and dirt path, most importantly. But we need a stone axe. Now, the stone axe does not require twine, which is fantastic. Let's get that being made. But we are going to need twine for a lot of other things, so let's make sure that we've always got, let's say, 10 twine available. That is going to require straw to make and a little bit of extra time. Now, the axe is absolutely important for us, because until we've got that, we can't finish our abode. Now, with that done, we've got a couple of other things that have unlocked. We need more bathrooms, because now we are able to dig holes in the ground, and digging holes in the ground is necessary for a poop place. So people are now going to start demanding it. Is there anything else that we immediately want to get before we move further on? We need a sleep mat, and that is just going to require twine. So once we've got the sleep mat, we can get the animal bed. We can also get the mushroom rack, which will allow us to dry our own mushrooms, which will then prioritize us getting mushrooms all the way through summer and autumn. We can also start planting our own berry bushes, building fences, but we're going to get to that in a little bit. The primary concern for us right now is to get this area set up. And let's go ahead and set up a little spot for people to do the necessary. You can't set it up on stone. Obviously, it's just a hole in the ground, and until we got picks, there is no way of us making a hole in the ground, but I would very much like somewhere that we could kind of conceal, because otherwise people get a little bit sensitive about having to poop in front of people. So let's find a spot that is relatively close to somewhere where I'm going to eventually want to grow things. Because as one might imagine, a lot of fertilizer, shall we say, being introduced to the ground makes the ground better for growing things in. But let's go ahead and do something like that about there. We'll probably have a little patch of things out here eventually. We're going to want to throw up some walls around this right away. Something like this, and then pop in a little straw door. You're going to want a window. Don't ask, I'm sure they just cover it. In fact, let me quickly... Let me tell you to stop doing that for now. Because the moment this is done, you're going to start using it. And right now, that would be in front of everyone else. Not being able to go is, for some reason, less of a concern than having to go in public. So, you know, word to the wise there. We've now got the stone pick available, so we're going to set that one up, and then we will have all of the basic tools available to us, which would be fantastic. But we've still got a fair bit of work to do. We will hopefully be able to get everything set up and the walls to be built relatively soon. And for now, it's just a matter of seeing if we can get this done by the end of day 4, because we're definitely not getting it done by the end of day 3. Also, it's raining on our food. Hurry up. Okay, so it's now time off, so everyone is getting ready to just chill out and sleep, but it is raining on our food. So instead of allowing that to happen, I'm going to put this as a very high priority, much the same as I'm going to do with this. Let's grab that, very high priority, and this one, very high priority. And I have told Bentham, no sleep for you, my dude. You are in overwork mode, so hopefully you won't chill out. It might be that you've already decided to chill out. We'll see. No, you're going to get some twine done. Maybe I should have given someone with a higher building priority. That is actually Bentham. No, it's not. Who had the highest? It was Amira. Okay, fair enough. Bentham, nice save there. You go back to normal mood. Your sister, however, ultra priority. Get that stuff done. Mostly I just want this one done because that's a lot of our food. If we can get that covered, then we should be okay. There we go. Roofs going in where they need to go, and the mushrooms no longer having a malice. It'll take a little bit before it stops, but they were losing a lot. Good warmth, however, because it's a warm environment, was restoring their quality, so it wasn't as dire as it could have been, but we do still need to get our last little bit done so that we can stop having to worry about it. Of course, you decide to build every roof except the one that I need done first, but it's fine, it's done. You can now go to bed. Thank you very much for your hard work. You've earned your sleep. Go rest. Phew. Alright, day 4 is here, but sadly our mushrooms have rotted, so Kyra is taking care of that for us. Thank you very much, Kyra, and we've got a lot of odds and sods to get done with today. We've probably got enough reeds being gathered there to take care of what remains of the straw that we're going to need. We've got a couple of windows to build, we've got a couple of roofs to put in place. They will light this fire under 2 circumstances other than cooking. One, if the area is too dark for them to work in, so for lighting, and the second, if it's too cold. What you can run into is something that generates a lot of heat being used primarily as a light source in a room that's already warm just because it's dark. That can cause a bit of a mood malice, so wherever you can, try and use the right tool for the job. So torches instead of fireplaces in a work area. Of course, your mileage may vary, but generally speaking, try to make sure that they have got torches for using for light rather than fireplaces, because they belt out a lot more heat than a simple torch will. Now, how much berries have we got? We're actually starting to run low on berries now, and it looks like the meat is all being used up, sadly. So it's time for us to start gathering some more berries. Now that we've got the axes as well, we can also chop trees. We can also clear stumps. Now, I recommend chopping some trees as a general rule, especially close by to your settlement. We won't do it right now because we've got so many other jobs that I'm trying desperately to get done as quickly as I can. But having the stumps by autumn is really, really useful for encouraging the growth of mushrooms. And mushrooms, as we've noted, if you can dry them, make for an incredibly useful resource for getting through the winter. But now we've got a bunch of other things like tool stockpiles, general stockpiles. I would like a tool stockpile. I'll just throw it down there. We're not going to worry about the general stockpile for now, but we've got all sorts of things that we're going to be able to get. Iron ore, gold, so on and so forth. These are very, very far in our future. We're not going to worry about it for the time being. We've still got a fair bit of reeds to be gathered, and hopefully we can get that done relatively soon, and then get the walls and the windows, doors, and the roofs over this area. There we are. We're already gathering the straw down here. If I were to cut some regular grass, we could also use that. This is flax over here. Sure, we'll set up a clear grass area for the flax. I want some flax seed. And for the time being, we'll just break that down into the straw. We're not actually going to wet the flax or try to turn that into any kind of fibers. We're very far away from making our own clothing, sadly. But we do have the dirt path, and I did mention that once we had that, it would behoove us to get that set up as quickly as we can. Now, dirt path, obviously, you can't dig a dirt path in rock. It's rather resistant to being hoed at the very least. But we do want the dirt path all the way over here to where we're gathering the eels. Let's also just go up here and pump these priorities a little bit, just to make sure that we get over here. In fact, one of the things you can do is if you double click on something, you can adjust the priority as a group. We want the straw window as well, and the straw door. Let's get all of those done before the building paths are done. But this is generally going to help us out in the moving forward. So I'm happy for them to get the paths done reasonably soon as well. Okay, we have now got a sealed in area. It's time for us to allow them to go ahead and get the poop hole built as a matter of priority, because, oh my lord, we've also got flax seeds and hay seeds. Now, I would recommend you make sure you have like 100 of each of these, for no other reason than being able to plant your own farms later on. But once you've got your livestock all set up and ready for the winter, they may subsist off seeds. Certainly chickens can do. Oh, you haven't finished the door. Oh, that's unfortunate. Do we have any extra flax available to us yet? No. That is a shame. I was really quite hopeful that we would by now. Looks like we are actually getting some flax stems, so we may be able to get this done. Of course, you decided to stop. It's time off. Okay, so that is a big nope. Work mode. Let's get some more stuff done. Come on now. Once this is done, there we are, and we will break that down into the straw straight away. Is that going to be enough? Let's have a look. Yes, we only need a tiny bit of extra straw. You can sleep. No, actually, you can't sleep. Let's go. You're going to prefer me getting this sorted so much more. I realise that it's all of that just for one piece of straw. And then you can hopefully go grab the branches. And finally, we will have a base that we can safely and in good conscience sign off on for this episode. There we go. Everything is as it should be. You can now go back to regular work priorities. Where is Bentham? Bentham is out over here. What are you up to, dude? You're an optimist, low-light, bored, cheerful, well-fed, musketeers. It's all okay. I fixed the problem. Aavak has fixed. Aavak was, of course, the problem, but let's not get hung up on the details. You've got a house. It's warm. You've got an outhouse, and not just a hole in the ground that everyone can lock eyes with you and try to assert dominance over. Look, things are going well. Also, there are a number of different animations of the way that animals just lie in their beds, and I love that about this game. But that is going to be it for this episode. We have managed to cover a decent bit of ground. It is summer, night 4. Going into day 5, the priorities will be, if we have a quick look at what we've got set up over here, probably next up we want to try and get a sleep mat. Following that, an animal bed, and probably a barn door so that we can set up a little barn for our sheep so that at the very least we can control where they're going to sleep at the end of the night. And then we can start working on maybe fencing off a bit of a field for them that will allow them to graze in relative safety. But that is going to be it for now. And actually, as a last point, you'll notice over here we can't clear the grass because the sickle is broken. So there we are. We're making a second sickle. Or rather, a replacement sickle. But that is going to be it for us. Thank you ever so much for joining me. And if you have any feedback or advice, then I would warmly welcome it down in the comments below. But until next time, and as always, do take care, everyone.